So I'm here at Cagsawa in the province of Albay, and right here, you can see the iconic Mayon volcano. And of course, the goal of today and the trip altogether is to, of course, capture landscapes that show the Mayon volcano. And we walked about 2 kilometers here. It was a fairly easy 2 kilometer trek, but still a 2 kilometer trek. And that is the reason why I am a sweaty mess right now. But anyway, I brought so much gear today that walking here gave me an idea about a video that I plan to shoot right before the sun sets. In this video, let's talk about what is the best option for telephoto lenses for landscape photography. Now, if you have enough experience shooting landscapes, especially having to walk long distances or maybe even climb mountains, carrying a lot of gear, I'm pretty sure you've experienced what I experience every single time, which is questioning whether bringing all your gear is worth it. And that really is what led to this thought or this idea about making choices in lenses, especially in telephoto lenses when it comes to landscape photography. Now, of course, telephoto lenses are not the most universal lenses in landscape photography simply because you most of the time need a wide angle lens, or you might need a wide angle lens many times. Which is why I still say that if you're gonna choose just one lens, if you're just gonna buy one lens, maybe you're starting out, then still get a standard zoom. That will be the most flexible one for you. However, for me, since I do have some options, I want to bring options when it comes to lenses when I go out and shoot. I almost always bring a telephoto lens, especially when I know that the subject is either distant or it's a very wide vista. Now, telephoto lenses actually have so much use in landscape photography, especially in situations wherein you are able to isolate so many things out of a single scenario. And that kind of gives you the opportunity to extend not just your focal length, but actually extend the number of compositions or the kinds of compositions that you can do. Which is basically, that's just me justifying the need for a telephoto lens wherever you go. Now, for over the past 2 years, I've been using a 70-200 f4, and I've been choosing that because of the relatively lighter weight that I have to carry whenever I use that. Since there are options between a 70-200 and f4 and the 2.8, the f4 is definitely sharp enough, and it's worth carrying because, again, it's lightweight, but at the same time, it's able to perform. It can give me up to 200 millimeters. Now, the question is that the best lens that I can choose, or the best lens among the choices? I wouldn't say it is, because today I brought a different lens. It's a much heavier lens than that of the 70-200 f4, but it gives me so much more range that I just realized that it's actually more worth carrying than a 70-200. So this isn't really one lens over the other, but basically a guide of what you should be thinking or what you should be considering whenever you're choosing telephoto lenses for landscape. Now, some people would think of the image quality, and of course you always should. You never want to be lacking in terms of image quality. So number one rule is to kind of eliminate or rule out lenses that don't perform well optically. Do we think much about focus? Well, for landscape photography, not so much. As long as it's accurate, you don't really need so much focusing speed. Now, the next thing to consider is weight. Now, not everyone will say that weight matters, but believe me, once you walk 1 or 2 kilometers, or even longer as you go further, the weight really matters, because it might seem light when you're just holding it. But remember, your endurance also matters. So if you're going to be way too tired to shoot when you get to the location, just because you brought so much gear, then you might not be able to use the gear properly anyway. So that's something to consider. And lastly, of course, an important thing to consider is range. Now, there are 70 to 200 lenses, which are kind of the staple, 70 to 300, 100 to 400, and a 200 to 600. And that's basically the meat of what I'm gonna say in this video. You don't just consider the range, you don't just consider the image quality. I think that what you should consider is basically the good mix of weight, image quality, and of course range, or maybe even just the mix of range and the weight. Another point to consider is that when we're shooting very distant landscapes, there's actually so much optical obstruction, like the haze that you see right now, and you're gonna ask yourself if the image quality that the lens is giving you is going to be somehow decreased by that obstruction, and to what extent. So basically, what I wanted to do today for this shoot was really to zoom in on that and get the details of the crater and get the movement of the clouds around the crater and just create something kind of minimalist and satisfying to look at. And that's why I wanted to bring instead a 100 to 400, and I was questioning myself if it would actually be worth it. But if we look at the numbers, the 70 to 200 f4 is around 1 kilogram. This is 1.38 kilograms if I'm not mistaken. And the 70 to 200 f2.8 G Master, the first version, is around 1.48, which is almost 1.5 kilograms. And the newer one, of course, is much lighter, coming in at just about 1 kilogram as well. But with this one, if I consider this between the new G Master or the 70 to 200 f4, it is an extra 380 grams, but it is also an extra 200 millimeters, which allows me to go from a shot like this further closing into a shot like this. And basically that's what led me to that realization, that it's not just considering the image quality and the weight and the range, but basically weighing the pros and cons of bringing a few extra 100 grams to give you a bit more range. And that's why I think, for me at the very least, in this situation, the best choice was to bring a 100 to 400 millimeter. And this is of course the Sony 100 to 400 millimeter G Master. And what I'm doing now is I'm shooting with a 10-stop ND filter with a built-in CPL, of course the HNY RevoRing Swift system. And I have it on the Manfrotto 190 Go. And I'm just shooting 30-second exposures, bringing out the details of the crater and also the scudding of the clouds. So there, if you're an experienced landscape photographer, let me know what you think. I would want to know what you have to say about this idea. And if you're a beginner in landscape photography, then I do hope you consider what I just said, because it might be something that will kind of help shape your journey in terms of landscape photography and your choices in gear. And of course, if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section and I will get to you. I would really love to have a meaningful discussion with you guys about the technicalities like these. And if you've gotten this far into the video, thank you very much for watching this video. Of course, my name is Nicco Valenzuela. I am a landscape photographer, and today I very much feel that way. And this channel is about landscape photography, architectural photography, and the gear and the process that surrounds it. Thanks for watching.